Hi guys. Okay, this is a video for lesson 2 of our Treasure Island unit for CKLA. No pirate costume for today's lesson, unfortunately, and this is just how I'm going to be recording this lesson. I think the angle was pretty rough on the workbook page part for last time, so sorry about that. And I don't know when you're watching this, but for me today when I'm recording it, it is Memorial Day, so it's kind of like a holiday day off from school, but I'm recording it so that I can post it tonight, so that if people are going to try and watch it tomorrow, you can still be seeing it. So it's my day off. I am looking like a mess, so I am not a pirate today. I'm just your teacher. So, lesson 2. Anyway, let's get started. I have flat Mrs. Flitton here holding my page for me. If you're in my class, you should have received a flat Mrs. Flitton. Let me know if you did not. For today's lesson, we are reading chapter 2 of our story, but we have vocab words to read first, and there's a lot of them. There are 14 of them, and it's on page 17 in your workbook, okay? So the chapter is titled The Sea Chest and the Blind Man. These are the vocab words. The first one, get a good laugh in before we move on. It does not say farting, but it looks like it does. It says farthing. It's a noun. It means a coin worth less than a penny, formerly used in Great Britain. Okay, so imagine a penny, but less value. It is called a farthing, not a farting. Haha. Okay, laugh a little longer. Okay, get it out of your system. We're moving on. Okay, next word is gargoyle. A gargoyle is a noun. It's a stone carving of a strange figure used as decoration on a building, usually a cathedral or Gothic structure. So think of Hunchback of Notre Dame. There were gargoyles in that movie, right? Next word is ensue. It's a verb. To follow right after another event. And it can be past tense with ensued. So it just means like followed. Okay. Next word, impending. It's an adjective. It means about to occur. So for me, my nap time is impending. About to take a nap. Not really. Okay, next word, scarper. That's a verb. It means to flee or run away. So if you're scarpering, it means you're running away from something. Next word, stun. That's a verb. To shock or amaze. So if somebody stuns you, they shock you somehow. Next word, buccaneer. It's a noun. It's another word for pirate. Buccaneer means pirate. Next word, bulk. And that's a noun. It means most, or the large part of something. So if you did the bulk of your group project, it means you did most of it and your teammates did not help you very much. Or maybe you're carrying the bulk of your grocery shopping trip inside and you're carrying most of the groceries. Next word is cache, and that's a noun. It means a hiding place for supplies or treasure. Kind of looks weird, but it's cache, like C-A-S-H is how you pronounce it, but it's a hiding place. Next word is hummock, and that's a noun. It's a rounded hill or mound. And I'm super bummed that we cannot do our field trip to Mount St. Helens because there are a lot of hummocks there, and that's exactly what they're called in Mount St. Helens. They're big, giant hills and mounds all over the place, but like huge, like building sized, because those were chunks of the mountain that got blown off during the eruption. But anyway, next word, fathom, which is a noun. Fathom is a length of about 6 feet used to measure water depth. So if the water in a lake is like 10 fathoms deep, it means it's about 60 feet because 1 fathom is about 6 feet. Okay, so it's to measure water depth. Next words are cabin boy. So that's a phrase, cabin boy. That's a noun. It's somebody hired to wait on the passengers and crew of a ship. So he like helps the crew, helps the passengers. Next word is ransack. That's a verb. It means to search thoroughly, causing damage or disorder. So if somebody looks through all your stuff and makes a mess, they are ransacking your stuff. So like my sister and I growing up would ransack each other's rooms to look for stuff that we might have, you know, borrowed from each other. But it's when you cause damage or disorder. So like if you don't put everything back in its rightful place, you're ransacking. Don't do that, by the way. Last word is schooner. Okay, and that's a noun. It's a sailing ship with 2 or more masts. So remember the masts. I think we had a picture in the back of our reader. Yep, right here. So this would be a schooner because here's one mast and here's another one. So if it has 2 or more masts, then it's a schooner. Okay. So that's the vocab for this chapter. Chapter 2 in our reader. Let's see, where does that begin? It's on page 10. It starts on page 10, okay? So if we look back and just remember what we read in chapter 1, that was a couple of days ago for me, so just to remember, we had Jim was our main character, right? He was our narrator, and he met the captain. The captain was kind of a shady dude, and there was the Dr. Livesey, and Jim helped his parents run the inn, and the captain was hiding treasure, or he knew of where hidden treasure was at, and the other guy came and fought with him and killed him, right? So he died. Here he is, looking rough, and he eventually died later in the chapter, the captain. And remember, he had a key around his neck, and Jim and his mother found the key and went to go upstairs to unlock and find the captain's sea chest, so his treasure chest, right? And that's where that chapter ended. So this is where chapter 2 begins. So I will zoom in a little bit as I read, track along in your book as I read this out loud, or just fast forward through the video once I start the workbook pages, if you want to just read it by yourself. Okay? All right, chapter 2, the sea chest and the blind man. A strong, pungent smell of tobacco and tar rose up from the interior of the old sea chest as we opened it. On the top was an elegant suit of clothes never worn. Under that was a tin, a quadrant, tobacco, a bar of silver, West Indian shells, a Spanish watch, several compasses, and 2 pistols. At the bottom of the chest lay a bundle wrapped in oilcloth and canvas bag that gave forth the jingle of coins. I pride myself on being an honest woman, my mother said. I'll take what I'm owed and not a farthing more or less. Okay, pause. So remember, the captain was staying at the inn, you know, that Jim and his family owned, and he wasn't paying for his stay. So that's like going to a hotel and not paying. You don't do that, right? So she said she's going to take what the captain owed her, but not a farthing more. So she's not going to take any more out of the chest, just what she's owed. So that's nice of her. Okay, continuing. She began to count the money into a bag. As she counted, we heard a familiar sound. It was the tap-tapping of the blind man's stick upon the frozen road. It drew nearer while we held our breath. Then we heard the blind man's voice, along with several others. Okay, so remember the blind man was on the same crew as the captain a long time ago. And then throughout this book, they're going to have these little sections that give some information. So this isn't part of the story per se, but it's just good information about, it's like nonfiction, detailed information about things mentioned in the chapter, okay? So it's going to talk about this little thing. With nothing but sea and sky in sight, sailors in the 1700s used a navigational tool called a quadrant to find their way on the open waters. This quarter-circle-shaped instrument measured the angle between the North Star and the horizon, which sailors used to determine their distance north or south of the equator. Okay, so this is a picture of the quadrant, which is one of the things they found in the sea chest, and it just explains what that is. Okay, So we're going to be reading all those little sections too. And on this page, page 11, it's a full page picture, but it has a caption. And remember, we always read the captions. We always need that information too. So there's Jim and his mom. She began to count the money into a bag. As she counted, we heard a familiar sound. Okay, page 12. Okay. Mother, I whispered nervously, please hurry up. I'll hold on to what I have so far, she exclaimed. I'll take this to square the count, I informed her as I picked up the bundle wrapped in oilcloth. Then we groped our way downstairs, threw open the back door, and ran out into the darkness of night, two desperate souls unsure of what to do next. Okay, so they grabbed what they could out of the chest. Well, Jim did. The mom just took what she was owed. And they're running away because the blind man, he was pretty intense, right? So they're running away from him. A silvery moon peeped out from behind ominous storm clouds. The moonlight allowed us to glimpse the ditch that laid behind the inn. Without hesitating, we made our way toward it. There we waited, breathing in the cool night air, out of sight but within earshot of the inn. Before long, a number of shadowy figures appeared. Inside, a chilling voice commanded. It was the blind man. Find him. So remember, the blind man put the black spot on the captain, which means it's like a warning saying, you're dead. So they're here to find him. The others scurried forward in the darkness. A few seconds later, we heard a gruff voice call out, Bill's dead. Search him, shrieked the blind man. Find the key, or you'll answer to me. There was a lengthy pause, and then another cry. Someone got here before us. The key's gone. Then find the sea chest and smash it into pieces, screeched the blind man. The sound of his voice sent a cold shiver running down my spine. I heard a commotion and the sound of footsteps coming from the upstairs area of the inn. Moments later, the window to the captain's room was flung open. Such force caused the glass to shatter and break. Then a man with a face resembling that of an angry gargoyle leaned out of the window into the moonlight. Pew, he shouted. It's like I told you already. Someone's been here before us. They rifled through Bill's chest. Is it there? Pew roared. Okay, Pew's a character. So, one of these fellas. There's some money, said the gargoyle-faced man. Forget the money, Pew spat. Flint's map, I mean. So they're looking for the map. It's nowhere to be found, I tell ya. Blast it, cried the blind man. It's that boy. I should have dealt with him earlier. He was here just a few minutes ago. I know it. Scatter, lads, and hunt the rascal down. So somehow the blind man knows that Jim has the map. And I don't even think Jim realizes he has the map. He just took a bundle wrapped in oilcloth, which is like fabric. So he just took a random thing out of the chest. So I don't think he knows he has Flint's map. A great to-do ensued in our old inn. Furniture was thrown and beds were stripped. Doors were forcefully kicked in until finally the men came out and declared that I was nowhere to be found. Just then, we heard a whistle in the darkness. I guess it was some sort of signal. The men had left a guard, and he was warning them of impending danger. So, about to happen danger. There's Dirk, one of them pronounced. We'll have to scarper, and quick, mates. So, pause. They got some kind of signal, a whistle. Somebody named Dirk whistled, and they decided we have to use scarper, which means flee. They had to run away. Pew, however, attempted to convince the others to hold their ground and not flee like scalded rats. The boy can't have gone far, he urged desperately. That rascal was here no more than a few minutes ago. Scatter and look for him, you lily-livered cowards. Oh, if I had my eyes, what I wouldn't do right now. gosh. So Pew, I think, is the blind guy? Or no? Yeah, if I had my eyes. So I think the blind guy's name is Pew. 2 of the men obeyed Pew and began to search around the exterior of the inn, but the others stood in the road, unsure of their next move. Pew sensed the men's confusion. "Get to it," he yelled. "If we find what we came for, we'll all be as rich as kings. Don't stand there skulking. If you had the pluck of a weevil in a biscuit, you would catch him." I have no idea what that means. If you had the pluck of a weevil in a biscuit, that is like an old school pirate saying. I don't know what that means. "Hang it, Pew," grumbled one of the men. "Don't you think we should take the money and run?" And I think hang it means like forget it. Okay, so one guy says we should just take the money we found in the chest and take off. They don't want to worry about it. "He could be anywhere hereabouts," moaned another. "Let's call it a day before we get caught." Let's call it a day and run before we get caught, sorry. Pew's anger escalated, and he began swinging his walking stick. He struck at the others right and left in his blindness. They, in turn, cursed the blind man, threatening him in horrid terms, and tried in vain to catch his stick and take it from him. This quarrel saved us. Quarrel means fight. For while it was raging, another sound came from the top of the nearby hill, galloping horses. A pistol shot came from the hedge. That must have been the final signal warning the men of serious danger, for they scattered like rabbits in every direction. In half a minute, only Pew remained. Okay, so they hear horses coming, and a gun went off from Dirk's hiding spot. So that was the final warning that, hey, you guys gotta go or you're gonna be in big trouble. And here's Pew beating them all away. This guy really looks like a pirate. Okay. He tapped up and down the road in a frenzy, calling out to his comrades. "Johnny," he shouted. "Black Dog, Dirk, don't leave old Pew here without eyes to guide him." At that moment, 5 riders swept down the hill at full gallop. Pew sensed he was in their path and cried out, but it was too late. One of the horses knocked him to the ground, and another trampled over him. Pew made one last gasp and then lay silent on the ground. I saw that the horsemen were actually officers. One of them dismounted and checked on Pew, but there was nothing to be done. Okay, so these officers come down riding on horses and run straight into him. And he can't move or get out of the way because he's blind. He can't tell which way to go. And it says there was nothing to be done. So did he just die? Okay. A lot of deaths so far. Gosh. Okay. I jumped up out of the ditch, and after conversing with the officers and calming my mother, I made my way to Dr. Livesey's home. Okay, so Jim and his mom are safe. He had to calm down his mom. He talked to those officers, and then he's headed to the doctor. Okay, I'm on page 16. I found Dr. Livesey dining with Squire Trelawney. I told them everything that had happened and showed them the bundle I had retrieved from the sea chest. At first, they were stunned and rather silent, but eventually they were able to think clearly, and we began to converse. Converse means talk. "Have you heard of this Captain Flint?" Dr. Livesey asked Squire Trelawney. "Heard of him?" the squire cried. "Of course I have. Why, John Flint was the bloodthirstiest pirate that ever flew the Jolly Roger. In fact, Blackbeard was a child compared to Flint." And we're going to read about it here in a little while, but this flag, the little pirate flag, is called a Jolly Roger. So they're saying that John Flint, the pirate, Captain Flint, was the bloodthirstiest. That means like the most violent pirate to ever fly that flag. And Blackbeard, a famous pirate known for being super aggressive and violent and scary, was a child compared to this Captain Flint. Okay. "Well," said the doctor, "suppose this packet tells us where the old buccaneer hid his treasure. What would you do then, may I ask?" "I would fit out a sailing ship in Bristol," the squire declared confidently. I'd take you and Jim Hawkins along, and I would find the treasure, even if I had to search for an entire year. With that said, the doctor cut the bundle open. It contained two things, a book and a sealed paper. Printed on the first page of the book were the words, Billy Bones, his account. So remember, the captain was named Billy Bones. The next 20 pages were filled with dates, sums of money, and little crosses. One line read, June 12th, 1745, 70 pounds off Caracas. 70 pounds is money. Pounds in Great Britain were dollars. Or are, I guess, still. Next to this entry were 6 tiny crosses. Okay, so they're looking through his stuff. I'm going to pause and read this little information. When merchant ship sailors saw the Jolly Roger's skull and crossbones flying over a pirate ship, they knew they faced a strong set of armed buccaneers. The symbol struck such fear that oftentimes merchant ships immediately surrendered their goods in exchange for their lives. Not all ships flew exactly the same variation, and powerful pirate captains became infamous, identified by their customized flags. So not every pirate flag looked exactly like this. They would change it a little bit and then be known for that flag. Okay? On page 17 over here is another full page picture, and it says, with that said, the doctor cut the bundle open. It contained two things, a book and a sealed paper. So here's Jim, here's the doctor, I'm assuming, Dr. Livesey, and here's Squire Trelawney. Okay. Page 18. What does it mean? I asked. This is the old captain's account book, said the squire. This entry tells us that the pirates got 70 pounds of loot after they attacked a ship off the coast of Caracas on the Spanish Main. So remember, let me take my map down real quick. Okay, so here's our little zoomed in world map. Right now, Jim and everyone are here in England, but Spanish Main is this area down here. Okay, here's North America, Central America, South America. Caracas is in Venezuela, so I think somewhere in here. I don't know where Venezuela is exactly on here, but here's Spanish Main. So it's across the Atlantic Ocean from where they are. They're here reading about the map and stuff, and Squire Trelawney thinks, well, I would take a ship and head out to go find that treasure. Okay, so that was Spanish Main. Next, we inspected the sealed paper. The doctor opened it carefully, and a map fell to the floor. It was a map of an island, labeled with latitude and longitude, water depths, names of hills, bays, and inlets, and all the details needed to bring a ship safely to anchorage upon its shores. It seemed to me that the island was shaped like a portly dragon. Portly means fat. From the map, we could see that the island was about 9 miles long and 5 wide. It had 2 harbors, and there was a large hill in the center marked Spyglass. Several things had been added to the map in red ink. There were 3 crosses, 2 on the north part of the island and 1 in the southwest. Next to one of these, written in small, neat hand, very different from the captain's, were the words, "Bulk of treasure here." On the back of the map, in the same hand, we read, "Tall tree, spyglass shoulders, bearing a point to the north of north-northeast, Skeleton Island, east-southeast, and east by 10 feet. The bar silver is in the north cache. Find it by the trend of the east hummock, 10 fathoms south of the crag, with the face on it. The arms are in the sand hill, north point of North Inlet Cape, bearing east and a quarter north. JF. Those are initials, somebody's name, JF. Didn't they say his name was John Flint? Captain Flint, John Flint, yep. So that's Captain John Flint's message to where the treasure is. And none of that makes sense because I don't know the island very well, but it made sense to him. Oh, and it did not make much sense to me, but the squire was delighted, so Jim doesn't really understand it either. Tomorrow I'll set off for Bristol, he effused. In 10 days we'll have the best ship and crew in England. Hawkins shall come with us as cabin boy. You, Livesey, will be the ship's doctor, and I will be the admiral. Okay, so Squire Trelawney's got this grand plan. He's going to find a ship, and in 10 days they'll be able to leave England and go find this treasure, because now they have directions and a map. And Jim gets to go as cabin boy, so he's just kind of like the little servant on the ship. On page 19, super cool picture of what the map would look like. Okay, and it says several things had been added to the map in red ink. So this is what that inside the packet was, the map. There's like some of the red ink stuff and everything they described over here on page 18 is in the map. The little crosses. Okay. Page 20. We'll have no difficulty in finding the spot, and we'll have money to roll in ever after. Sorry, hold on. You. Ugh. If you watched my math video, lesson 22, session 2, I had to stop midway through because a spider was getting closer to me, and it was just on my desk. Ugh, I hate spiders. Okay, moving on, sorry. Anyway. Squire Trelawney's super excited. He's like, yeah, we'll do this. We'll get a ship. We'll go find treasure. I'll accompany you, said the doctor, and I hope Jim will too. There's only one man who concerns me. Name the dog, sir, cried the squire. You, replied the doctor. You cannot hold your tongue. That means you can't keep your mouth shut. Like he can't keep a secret. Those fellows who ransacked the inn tonight are looking for this map and for Flint's treasure. We'll have to be extremely careful. You go to Bristol and take my 2 loyal servants, Joyce and Hunter, with you. Remember, do not breathe a word of what we've found. Okay, so the doctor is smart and says, Squire Trelawney, you're kind of a loudmouth, right? So he's worried that those pirates that came looking for it and ransacked the inn are going to hear about it because Squire Trelawney is a loudmouth. Quite right, said the squire. You can rely on me to be as silent as the grave. So the squire, along with Joyce and Hunter, set off for Bristol. I stayed on at the hall with the squire's gamekeeper, old Red Ruth. After a couple weeks, Dr. Livesey received a letter from the squire. Picture down here. Letter on this side. So it is from Squire Trelawney to Dr. Livesey. Dear Livesey, the ship lies at anchor, ready for sea. You never saw a sweeter schooner. Her name is the Hispaniola. All ships have names, by the way. They're all named. I acquired her through my old friend Blandy. At first, finding a crew troubled me. I wanted 20 men, and I had difficulty finding half a dozen. Half a dozen is just 6, but he wanted 20. Then, fortune brought me the man I required. I fell into talk with him on the dock. He keeps a tavern, and I found he knew all the seafaring men in Bristol. It seems he lost his health ashore, and was hoping to secure a position as a cook at sea. He had hobbled down there that morning, he said, to enjoy the salty sea air. I was touched by his story and engaged him on the spot to be the ship's cook. Long John Silver, he's called. He has lost a leg in his country's service. So this guy lost a leg, so he's got a peg leg, like one of those stereotypes we talked about in the last lesson. And his name is Long John Silver. He wants to be the cook on the ship. Okay. Between Long John Silver and myself, we got together a fine company of seamen. Silver even got rid of 2 men I had already engaged. He explained that they were just the type of men we needed to avoid for an adventure of this importance. I am in magnificent health and spirits, eating like a bull, sleeping like a tree. Yet I am eager to lift anchor. So do come quickly. John Trelawney. P.S. My old friend Blandly has agreed to send another ship after us if we don't turn up by the end of August. He found an admiral fellow for captain, a stiff man, but in all other respects a treasure. Long John Silver has unearthed a very competent mate. So if they don't come back by the end of August, another ship is going to go off and look for them. And that is where that chapter ends. So lots of stuff happened. Jim found the very important treasure map, and they're planning their big trip to Spanish Main to go and find this treasure. Okay, so I'm gonna put my bookmark in here. I'm ready for chapter 3 in a couple days, and we have some workbook pages to do. We just did a lot of work though. If you want to pause the video and go take a break, we just have a couple workbook pages, so it's not too much, but I understand if you want to go take a snack break, restroom break, go noodle break, whatever you want to do, okay? So on page 17 was the vocab we just worked on. We're not going to go back to the character chart right now. I know back on page 5 when we started this character chart, I said every time we read a new chapter we would fill this out because now we know about Dr. Livesey and Pugh and Squire Trelawney. So we're going to do that next lesson though in the next video because we're just going to be rereading chapter 2. So first page we're working on is page 19 in your workbook. So this page is just a grammar page. It has nothing to do with the chapter we just read. So moving on, it's all about to be verbs and modal auxiliary verbs. So these are things that we worked on in previous lessons. It'll come back to you really quick. They're really not too difficult. It's just like which word sounds the best. To be verbs are things like is, am, are, like I am happy, she is nice, okay? And I'll explain modal auxiliary verbs at the bottom once we get there. But this first part, just these 6 right here, we just have to fill in which to be verb fits. Like he is happy. Is the to be verb. You wouldn't say he are happy or he am happy, right? He is happy. So that's the correct to be verb. It's like is he being? That's why it's to be verbs. We blank loved. So what sounds the best? We is loved, we am loved, or we are loved. We are loved. Okay, so it's one of those things, kind of like when we were ordering adjectives and certain grammar things, it's just like, what sounds the best? There's a lot of rules and explanations and stuff, but which one makes sense? Which sounds the best? Number 2, I blank sleepy. Would you say I is sleepy? I sure hope not. I am sleepy. You are thoughtful. They are sweet. You all are funny. The pie is delicious. Okay? So that's all of those. We'll have more practice pages on this soon, but hopefully that's not too hard. Okay? It's just which one sounds the best. Are, am, or is. And then this bottom part and the back page is all about the modal auxiliaries. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay. Modal auxiliary verbs are just helper verbs. Okay, so it's not a standalone verb. It's not like ran, jumped, walked. It's not like an action by itself, but it's a helper verb. Okay. So for some of these, there might be more than one possibility, but choose the one you think is best. So there's a best option. For example, I need to finish my homework. Blank, I be excused from the dinner table. So which one fits the best? Will I be excused from the dinner table? may I be excused from the dinner table, or couldn't I be excused from the dinner table? So couldn't I fits, but may I be excused is definitely the best fit. So it would be this one. And you don't have to fit the word in the blank like I just did. You just put the X for which option you think sounds the best, okay? So these are all helper verbs. Like will is not a verb by itself. It's a modal auxiliary. It's a helper verb. Helper verb. May is not a verb by itself. Couldn't is not a verb by itself, okay? They are called modal auxiliary verbs. All right, number 1. We have been planning a trip for a year to see my family in Greece. Tomorrow we blank finally begin our trip. So tomorrow we can't finally begin our trip. That doesn't make sense. Tomorrow we might finally begin our trip, or tomorrow we will finally begin our trip. I think will sounds the best. Tomorrow we will finally begin our trip. Okay. Back page, there's a few more. Okay, number 2. Blank, you help me with chores right now, or are you busy? Can you help me with chores? That sounds pretty good. Might you help me with chores? That one's okay. Cannot you help me with chores? That's weird. I think can sounds the best in that option. Number 3. At the carnival, we blank play games, but we'll probably ride amusement rides instead. At the carnival, we will play games. That doesn't make sense because it says we'll probably ride rides instead. At the carnival, we might play games, or at the carnival, we couldn't play games. I think might sounds the best there. We might play games, but we'll probably ride amusement rides instead. That makes the most sense to me. Number 4. They are stuck in traffic right now, so they most likely blank make it to the party before it ends. Okay, they're stuck in traffic right now, so they most likely won't make it to the party before it ends. That makes sense. They most likely couldn't make it to the party. That also makes sense. They most likely can't make it to the party before it ends. Honestly, I think all 3 of those work. Won't and can't kind of sound the best. I'm going to say won't for that one. They're stuck in traffic right now, so they most likely won't make it to the party before it ends. I think won't sounds good, but can't also. They most likely can't make it to the party. That also sounds pretty decent. Either one, whatever you think. Number 5. He blank ride a bicycle yet, but he plans to learn. He can't ride a bicycle yet. That makes sense. He couldn't ride a bicycle yet. No. He won't ride a bicycle yet. Nope, that doesn't make sense either. I think it's can't. That was an easy one. Number 6. Last year I blank read faster than my brother, but now he reads faster than me. Last year I might read faster. No. Last year I can read faster. No. Last year I could read faster. Yeah. Could. That makes sense. Okay. So just reread each one when you have something like this. I mean, I just did it. We did it together. But you just read each sentence with the word in the blank every time. Just see which one sounds the best, okay? All right, on page 21, it's just a continuing page for that lesson. So for these 2 blanks, it says write 2 sentences using a different to be verb of your choice in each. Be sure to use correct capitalization and punctuation. So this would be worth a little, the perfect assignment tickets, or the blue ribbon tickets is what we call them in my class, because you need to use correct capitals and punctuation. So your verb choices is, am, are. So you're just writing a sentence with one of those words for number 1, and another sentence with a different one. So I'm not going to say like, my favorite food is pizza, and my favorite ice cream is chocolate, because then I'm using is both times. I have to switch it up. I could do my favorite food is pizza in this one, and I could say we are very excited for summer. That's a different to be verb, okay? So you're just coming up with 2 different sentences using one of those words. in each sentence, okay? And then for this part down here, write 2 sentences using a different modal auxiliary verb of your choice in each. Same thing, correct capitals and punctuation. So there's tons of choices over here. Can, might, cannot, will, might, couldn't, won't, couldn't, can't, couldn't, won't, might, can, could. So here's like a ton of choices, right? And there's more on the other page. So these are all your choices. I'm not going to rewrite them above the thing. Write any 2 sentences you want. She won't be at school tomorrow because she's sick. I can't ride the bus because I get car sick. Whatever sentences you want, okay? I'm not going to write them because then you would just copy mine. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do that. But you are turning in this workbook, and we are grading this workbook, so we're going to see that you did this page. So do that part, and then move on. There's one more page we're doing together. So we can do this, and then you can go back and do your sentences if you want to, or pause the video here, finish your sentences, and then continue so that we can do this last page together, okay? It's just front and back. It won't take too long. On this page, it is a morphology page, which means grammar page, and it's about a new root word that we haven't worked with yet. The root word is bio, and bio is a Greek word, and it means life. Okay? So there's 6 different words in the box, and some of them you've probably heard before, some of them might be brand new words to you. So we're going to go through what each one means real quick and then fill in the blanks. So this first word is symbiotic, and here's the root word, symbiotic, symbiotic, I think it's symbiotic. So that means that 2 things have a dependent relationship on each other. So the 2 things in the relationship depend on each other to survive. Like a honeybee and a flower have a symbiotic relationship because the honeybee needs the flower for pollen, but the flower needs the honeybee to pollinate it. Symbiotic, okay? Biography, we should know what that one means. Biography is a book about somebody's life, a nonfiction book about someone's life. Biosphere, oh, here's our root word. Root word biosphere means part of the world where life can be sustained. So like the sky is a part of the biosphere where like birds fly. Oceans, because life is in the ocean. On land, because life is obviously on land. But like the mantle is where we live, but like the core of the earth, that's not a biosphere because nothing lives there, okay? Biology, you've probably heard that one. It's just a science class you'll start taking in middle school or high school. Biology is just the study of life, okay? Biodegradable means that it can be broken down naturally. So like if you throw a piece of plastic out in your yard, it is not biodegradable. It will never break down by itself. Okay, but if you throw an apple core into the yard, which, you know, don't do that, don't litter, but if you threw out an apple core, it would break down naturally by itself. So it is biodegradable. And last one, autobiography. We should know that one. It is a history about somebody's life from their own point of view. So if you wrote a book about your own life, it would be an autobiography. Okay, so now we just have to figure out which word goes where for each of the 6 sentences. Number 1, instead of buying regular trash bags, my family now buys blank trash bags because they are more environmentally friendly. Okay, if you want to pause this video, by the way, and go through and try these words on your own, definitely do that. That's how we would normally do it in my class. You would do it with your group, then we would check. But can't do that right now. But if you want to try it by yourself, do it. But my family now buys biodegradable trash bags because they break down. They're more environmentally friendly. Biodegradable. Okay, since the words are right here in the box, you have to spell them correctly down here. No excuses. Cross them out as you go. Number 2, Even though many plants and animals live on land, water makes up the majority of Earth's biosphere. Okay. Number 3, it might be fun to research a pirate's life and write a blank about him. We would write a biography about him, not an autobiography because we're not writing about ourselves. Number 4, the study of blank is important so people can learn how plants and animals live and grow. That would be the study of biology. Number 5, my dog protects me and I take care of him in return, so we have a symbiotic relationship. Right, because both things are benefiting from the relationship. He takes care of the dog and the dog protects him. They both benefit. And last one, after the president left office, he wrote an autobiography or a book about his own life. Autobiography. Okay, on the back we have just a couple sentences to write. Okay, on the very back, last page we're doing for this lesson, page 24, it says write a complete sentence for each of the following words. Be sure to use correct capitalization and punctuation. So you have to write a sentence with the word autobiography in it, write a different sentence with the word biology in it, write a sentence with the word biodegradable in it. We've already discussed what each one of those words mean. You can flip back to the previous page to see example sentences, but you need to come up with your own sentence. Correct capitals and punctuation if you want credit for the page, if you want to earn a blue ribbon ticket. See it here? It's beautiful. You can put it in a jar and I can draw out a name and give you a prize. Okay, that's it for this lesson. See you guys next time for lesson 3. Bye-bye.